guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is going to be a little bit of a different video today. I have been wanting to sit down and chat with you guys about something for a while, and that is anxiety. And before I get into it, I just want to say I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. This is not something that you should take as expert advice or anything like that. I just want to put this out there because it's going to make me feel better to talk about it, and because I think maybe some of you might experience similar things, and it might be nice to just know that you're not alone in this. So yeah, that's my intro slash disclaimer, whatever you want to call it. And if this video isn't for you, if you think it's going to trigger you or you're just not interested, feel free to move on to the next one. No hurt feelings. Anyway, I have some notes here, so I'm going to be looking at this a lot. I guess I'll just start with a little bit of background. So I never had anxiety as a kid, never as a young adult. It's only been really bad in the last 5 to 10 years, but I would say maybe going back almost as far as 15 is when it sort of started. I was having some health issues, and I'm not going to go super detailed into the health stuff because that's just not what this video is about. But I was having some health issues, some symptoms that at the time were very scary and seemed like they might be heart related, like I might be having a heart attack or something like that. And Google was not my friend during this time, so do not Google your medical symptoms. Just don't do it. It's nothing good can come of it. But I saw many doctors, went to the hospital several times, never any answers. And finally, I would say maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that, I had an emergency room doctor give me a diagnosis of costochondritis, which is inflammation of the cartilage in your rib cage, is the basic definition of that. And that answered a lot of the questions about why I was feeling this way, and helped a lot to ease my mind a little bit. I also was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I'm medicated for that now and don't have any of those symptoms anymore. So I think that was definitely also playing a role. During the course of all of this, I had my heart checked in just about every way your heart can be tested. I mean, they ran almost every test imaginable, and everything always came back okay. I haven't been as anxious about those symptoms since I got that diagnosis, but it is definitely still there, and sometimes it just pops up. And no matter how many tests the doctor does, no matter how many times they tell me I'm okay, my mind just can't let it go. I know that it's irrational, but I can't let it go sometimes. And it's really hard. It's really hard. I have had some other health things come up since then. I guess I shouldn't even call them health things. Other symptoms come up since then that I have assumed were these big, bad, horrible health things. Every pain I have in my leg is a blood clot. Every pain or bruise or anything anywhere else in my body is I'm bleeding, or I have cancer, or I'm having a heart attack. It's always worst case scenario. And I laugh just because I'm nervous right now as I'm making this video, but I don't mean to make light of any of this. And the truth is, someday I could be right about one of these things. Someday I could have a heart attack, or I could be diagnosed with cancer. I mean, we all could potentially be faced with these things. But I honestly feel more anxiety about the unknown than I do about the prospect of those illnesses or diseases. Does that make any sense? Like, I feel like if my doctor told me today that I had cancer or something else going on, my response would be, okay, what's the next step? Let's go. Let's deal with this, because I tend to be very practical about those sorts of things. But when my brain is telling me that I have something like this going on and I don't have any answers, then I'm all panicky about it. Does that make any sense? I don't even know if it does, so I apologize, because honestly, sometimes I can't even explain it to myself. But yeah, it seems to be almost exclusively related to health issues, or health fears surrounding my health. I don't have a lot of anxiety about anything else. I do tend to have a temper sometimes, and I overreact sometimes. Anybody who knows me knows these things are true, and I think these also contribute, just these aspects of my personality probably contribute to anxiety sometimes, a little bit high-strung on occasion. But I can also have a tendency to be very laid back, so it's just, I'm an enigma, guys. Oh, I knew this video was gonna take a turn at some point. No, I just honestly, it's very frustrating when you don't feel like this is who you are, but it definitely is who you are. I know that my fears are irrational 90% of the time. I mean, especially when I'm going to a doctor and the doctor is telling me, no, this is not what this is. You don't have anything wrong with you. Everything looks good. And I still am anxious because I have a symptom. It's exhausting, guys. It's exhausting. And anybody else who deals with anxiety knows what I mean. It is exhausting. I was diagnosed with anxiety technically by my doctor in the respect that she gave me medication for it. So I went in and I was having some kind of fluttering sensations in my heart, which it turns out that could very likely be related to the medication I take from my thyroid. That's a very common side effect when you raise or lower your dosage. I haven't had to raise or lower it in a few years, and I haven't had that symptom. So it probably was related to that. But at the time we weren't sure. So my doctor did prescribe Xanax, which is an anxiety medication. And I think she gave me a 30-day supply, and it lasted me 2 years. I was very careful. I used it very sparingly. It did help on several different occasions, which, you know, kind of confirms that a lot of this is anxiety. But I don't want to rely on medication if I don't have to. Nothing wrong with using medication for your anxiety. If you need to use medication to make you to feel better or to handle your anxiety, and your doctor's on board with that, absolutely, 100%. So I do not mean to be knocking anybody who's using medication, because like I just said, it worked for me when I used it. I always prefer the non-medication route if I can, though. So I've been trying a lot of other things, and some things work very well and some things don't work at all. So what kind of got me thinking about doing this video in the first place right now is a sermon at our church this past Sunday. I'll put a link in the description box. There's almost always a link to our church, which is Eagle Brook Church, and they have online services always, even when we're not in the middle of coronavirus. But the sermon this Sunday was called Winning the Battle in Your Mind. And it dealt a lot with anxious thoughts, and it was perfect for me at the time. And my faith is a huge part of what gets me through my anxiety. My faith in God, my faith in Jesus Christ. Those things, I couldn't deal with it without those things. And one of the verses they used in the sermon was Isaiah 26:3, and it's, "You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, all whose thoughts are fixed on you." So it's just a reminder that I need to be fixing my eyes on Jesus. I need to be thinking about him, and I need to be directing my thought life away from my anxieties and to God. And that was a really good reminder. And I would recommend, if you have anxiety in any way, shape, or form, even if you don't, if you know somebody who does, check this sermon out, because it was really, really helpful. And even if you are somebody who is not religious, who doesn't have a lot of faith, I think you still might find something in this that would be for you. So I would recommend that you check it out. And he had three, obviously faith-based ideas to help get through anxiety, and one of them was take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. And I was thinking about this from the faith standpoint. Making it obedient to Christ makes sense to me. I'm going to think of everything through the lens of he is in control. I'm not in control. My thoughts aren't in control. He is in control. But I like the beginning of this idea for anyone, even outside of a person of faith, and that is take every thought captive. So rather than letting our thoughts control us, we're taking those thoughts and saying, okay, Why am I thinking this? And is this good? Is this true? Is this right? Should I be thinking this? Is this thought being harmful? And what can I do to move this thought out of my mind? I sound very therapist-y here, and I don't mean to sound like that, but and the second thing was form new grooves, and that was basically just thought patterns. You know, the things we think about on a regular basis are the things that are going to focus where our mind goes. You know, if you're thinking about negative things a lot, everything's going to run through that funnel of negativity, if that makes sense. So if you can make your mind a more positive place, things are going to run through that positivity in your mind, and maybe hopefully come out the other end with a positive spin rather than a negative. At least that's kind of how I took it. And the third one was to choose prayer over worry, and 100%. If I didn't pray every day, if I didn't stop and pray about the things that are making me anxious and that I'm worried about, I wouldn't make it through a day. And I'm not exaggerating here, guys. I wouldn't make it through a single day if I couldn't stop and bring these worries and these anxieties to God. I couldn't do it. And I would recommend, coming from where I am in my faith, I would recommend taking your concerns to God and praying about them. If you are not a person of faith, find somebody you can talk to. Find somebody who is willing to listen, who is willing to help you carry the burden a little bit. Doing it alone, it's not an option, guys. It's not. I absolutely could not do this alone. So I have a husband who is so incredibly supportive and puts up with so much craziness, so to speak. We actually have a term for it. We call it kooky pants. And it's not, again, not to make light of it, but it's just to, I guess it is to lighten the mood and to give me an outlet to be a little bit silly and a little bit just a little happier when talking about it, instead of always negative and sad and down, because that doesn't help. Like I said before, it's exhausting, and at the end of a day where I've had a lot of anxiety, I just feel wrung out. I feel like a washcloth that's just been wrung out, and I've got nothing left. And it's not a good way to feel. It's just not a good way to feel. I mean, as I'm looking at my little list here, making sure I'm not forgetting anything, some of the things that apply to my situation, and it being a lot of like health related or symptom related anxiety, could also apply to others. Just the sense that facts don't always help. The fact is, we checked this, and this, and your test results came back fine. Doesn't always change my anxious state. So I would imagine that would apply to a lot of others too. The fact that the thing you're anxious about isn't true or isn't happening won't always alleviate your anxiety. This is something that I just want people to understand who don't have anxiety. This is not something we can control. Not entirely. There are things we can do to get it under control to an extent, but this isn't something I just do. Comments like, a lot of times people will say, well, the doctor told you were fine, so stop worrying about it. Stop worrying about it, that's not helpful. And I know it was meant to be helpful, but it's not, because I can't just stop worrying about it. It isn't that kind of situation. It isn't that simple. And for me, I want answers about my health, but then do I really want the answer? Because what if the answer is the bad thing that I thought it was? And then it turns into a vicious circle. It's just, I feel like I'm talking in circles, and I apologize for that, because this is just one of those topics that you just start talking and it just starts coming out. But I guess for me, the thing that has been helping lately, because it's been high alert anxiety time lately, What's been helping is, first and foremost, spending a lot of time in prayer and talking to God and just saying, hey, this is happening to me. I need your help. I can't get through this on my own. Also talking to my husband about it a lot and having him reassure me as much as he can that there are things that I'm, anxious about that are going to be okay, and just doing the best that he can and putting up with my kooky pants behavior. And then just trying to be more positive in general, a more positive person. A positive attitude goes a long way. It really does go a long way. And gratitude is another huge one for me. I find when I'm thinking about the things in my life that are good, that I'm grateful for, that I'm blessed to have, there's less room in my mind for the negative and the anxious thoughts. So I am keeping a gratitude journal every day, and that is helping a lot. And it's as simple as I write down one word or one phrase or one thought that made me smile that day, that I was thankful for. And that's it. It's as simple as that. And that has helped a lot. So the other things that help are a little more practical type things. Taking a long hot bath can help sometimes, where I can just maybe throw on a YouTube video and just turn off my mind and get immersed in a bath and some candles and the lights down and just whatever I'm watching or reading or something like that. Running essential oils in my diffuser, that helps a lot too. Just creating a relaxing atmosphere. Honestly, even playing Animal Crossing, which I've been doing a lot of lately, has been really helpful. It's a little bit of escapism. I go into this little town and my little character and decorate and, work on the town and the house and all of that. And if you've never played that, you don't know what I'm talking about, but I find it to be really calming. So find something that works for you that is calming, and it can make all the difference. Reading or doing a craft, or, whether it's watching TV or hanging out with your loved ones, whatever it might be. I do also find that keeping myself calm in other areas in my life can sometimes help with the anxiety, can sometimes help with the anxious feelings, even if they are related to health symptoms. Just not being angry, not having a temper, being calm, and just letting things go in other areas of my life tends to help me with my anxiety. I don't have a whole lot else to say on the subject just yet. I would like to talk about it again in the future. And I would love to hear from any of you who have experienced anxiety. If you have any tips or tricks or things that work for you, or if you just want to talk. My email address is in the description box below. Feel free to shoot me an email. You can find me on Instagram. You can send me a direct message there. You can comment in the comments below. Anything you want to do, that would be great. I just think one of the most important things is that we're all there for each other, and that we know that we're not going through this alone. So, if you want somebody to pray for you, same thing. Send me an email. Shoot me a direct message on Instagram. Talk to each other in the comments. I would be happy to do that. And if you are praying folks out there, if you want to pray for me, I would appreciate that too. And I think you can definitely still have a full, productive, very happy life while experiencing anxiety, as long as you are able to find a way to manage it and to just share that burden with someone else, so you're not doing it alone. So that's really all I've got for you today. I hope it was helpful. It was helpful for me just to talk about it a little bit. And I will definitely do some updates in the future on how I'm doing and if it's gotten better or worse, or what's going on with it. But if you like this video, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up, so I know to do videos like this again in the future. And subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to have you around, and I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye.